Good morning, John.
Good morning. How are you, Leslie?
I'm good. So we recently had our Napa board meeting, and which was great. We got a lot done. But in that
Uh-huh.
board meeting, with discussing our education and membership, we decided that we had some topics that we needed to address. And so one of those topics that we came up with that we wanted to address with our all staters, as I say, was errors and omission. And so you and I have tackled that in those meetings, and one of our main goals with NAPA is to help educate all of our agency force, as well as to educate them, but also just to help them to be successful as they are and as they can be. So I think we tackled a good topic today.
Yeah, I think the All-Staters will find this pretty or really interesting and help their agency. So why don't you start us out by telling us a little bit about the definition for errors and omissions?
Okay, and I'm going to actually read this definition because I think it's important to understand it because, a lot of people know I sold the agency, but this is a very passionate topic for me because I do some expert witnessing now with insurance court cases, and I do some consulting, and it is the hottest topic. I mean, this is what the insurance companies go after, is the agent's errors and omissions insurance. So the definition of errors, the errors and omissions insurance, it is a form of a professional liability insurance, if everyone doesn't understand that. And it's designed to protect the employees and the employer against clients' claims of negligence or inadequate work. E&O policies usually cover legal costs that are associated with the claim, and most or all of the ensuing settlements that come after that. Though a policy may not cover the entire settlement if the amount exceeds the limit specified in the insurance contract. So, you could be in a situation you don't have enough E&O insurance. But in many industries, lawsuits happen whether the associated claims are legitimate or not. And a lot of these claims aren't legitimate. A lot of agents are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Just doesn't mean that you're not going to get sued for it. So, so John, as agency owners in the past and also now, what do you consider one of the areas that the agency should be most aware of in a day-to-day functioning?
Well, Leslie, that's a really good question. One of the biggest issues that I ran into when I was running my agency was when a customer moves and finding out, make sure we've got the correct address on the policy, or if they added a new car and that rate went up. So there's some discussions that need to happen around that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, interestingly, that's one of the things people want to avoid the most. I mean, I can remember, and I still see it, that they don't want to have that tough conversation about pricing. I mean, sometimes if it's even $10, they just don't want to pick up that phone and tell the customer that they've had an increase. And, it does happen. So, what would be a good example? Where would you see a good example of that?
Well, let's say somebody was renting an apartment and they decided to move to a different apartment. Sometimes those rates will change because of different territories. Even sometimes the car rate will go up as well. So either you or someone in the staff needs to call, verify the address, and then discuss any premium increases, because the customer needs to be aware of that.
Yeah, it's really, because you don't want to be in that situation so everybody says, well, what's the big deal about the address change, right? We know zip codes can change it. And many people don't understand it, especially from the consumer side, that zip code change oftentimes is related to crime within the area. So now there's a fire. Let's just say the example of a fire, or the car is stolen. When that address situation, then the address has not been changed and corrected. Let's tell the audience what can happen.
Well, what could happen if it's an incorrect address, it could go so far as the claim could be denied.
Ooh, we don't want to, that now we're into that E&O situation, right? That could really happen.
That's correct, Leslie.
Yeah. So now they've done this. This has happened. Now we're facing an E&O claim. So what happens then?
Well, the agent needs to start looking inside of their procedures. What kind of documentation did we have? Did we put notes in e-agent? Did we verify that the change actually took place? Maybe it's hung up in the system somewhere. So the agency needs to do their due diligence to make sure that they have it documented, that every procedure is followed. And if there's a loophole, the agent needs to go back and discuss with the person that's handling it to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, because that is such a simple thing to happen in an agency. I mean, we deal with so many things as agents, but that seems to be such a simplistic situation, but it can manifest into a much bigger issue. And none of us want to deal with that. I know when I would have issues come up and it was a situation where an E&O claim could have happened, I had to go through exactly what you're talking about, that the documentation, getting out my green sheets, and proving that we didn't do anything wrong. But it seems like an easy fix. So what's your advice when something like that happens?
Well, you really ought to discuss this very often in your staff meetings, making sure that it's handled. Make sure that the customer has been called to verify their address, to the price increases, documented in the agent. Do all those necessary steps to make sure that you have documented every little detail that could happen, because E&O is serious, can be very costly, and you just don't want to get caught in a position where you haven't crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's and make sure everything is correct.
It's kind of meticulous. We have to stay on top of it, and that's where some people see themselves get in trouble. So in your opinion, bottom line is it's communication and communicating.
Correct. And it's something that you can't just handle once. You've got to go over and practice it. So make sure it's in your everyday operations.
Yeah. Well, and those things there are just those conversations. None of us like to have tough conversations, but sometimes those are just the simple things that can really keep us out of trouble. So, I mean, all that's such great advice, John. Thank you for taking time today. Are there any last thoughts that you have on the situation with E&O for our all-staters?
No, I would just recommend take the time to go back, look at your procedures before it happens, make sure you discuss it, and just make sure everything's set in place. I know sometimes can be a small little detail, but make sure you got all the bases covered. Right.
I so agree. And as always, we thank all of our members for being members of NAPA. But if you're not a member, we do encourage you to join. We need membership right now, and we're growing. We've grown exponentially in the last year due to some of the things going on with Allstate. So we thank everyone for helping us with the fund, helping us with our legal fund. Anyway, I look forward to our next video. John, what's our topic?
Well, the next time we're going to talk about the failure to procure coverage.
Ooh, that is a good one. And again, I as kind of my life after Allstate situation of doing these expert witness cases, and that is a big one. It's just, did they ask for the insurance, and did you put it into place? And if you didn't, they did, and you didn't, then you've got some explaining to do, right?
Correct. Yes.
All right. Well, thanks, John, as always. I love you, buddy. And it's just so much fun to serve with you on the NAPA's board. I love it.
Well, the same here, Leslie, and we'll talk to you the next time.
Okay. See you then.